Healing the inner child. No more repeating the pain. It's time to be real and whole one. When we talk about healing the inner child, we're speaking to the emotional parts of ourselves that were shaped in early childhood. The part that still carries wounds, fears, and unmet needs. Children are incredibly sensitive. When they experience emotional wounds like rejection, neglect, or abandonment, and aren't comforted or guided through those feelings, they often withdraw. The pain doesn't disappear. It stays hidden, unprocessed. Over time, that wound may never fully heal, and it can influence how the adult version of that child reacts to life. Emotional wounds, just like physical ones, don't go away on their own. When something similar happens again, a moment of rejection, disapproval, or fear, that inner child reemerges. And because they were never taught how to process that pain, they still feel unsafe. This leads many people to develop unhealthy behaviors as a way to protect themselves. People-pleasing, perfectionism, emotional numbing, or even pushing others away to avoid being hurt. The most painful part? Often, the person who caused the wounding was the very caregiver the child depended on for safety and love. That confusion, being hurt by the one meant to protect you, creates deep emotional chaos. In this journey, we'll explore what wounds the inner child, how those wounds show up in adult life, and, most importantly, how we can begin to heal them with compassion, awareness, and reparenting. Because that little child is still inside, still waiting to feel safe again. When the people who hurt you were supposed to love you. One of the most painful truths in inner child healing is this. Often the people who caused the deepest wounds were the very ones meant to protect you. For many children, trauma doesn't always come in the form of big, obvious abuse. Sometimes it's the quiet kind, emotional neglect, withdrawal, or unpredictable affection. A parent storms out when you disappoint them. A caregiver gives you the cold shoulder, refusing to speak to you for days. As a child, that silence feels terrifying. You don't have the tools to understand it, only the primal instinct that your safety, your survival, depends on their love. When love is conditional, if you behave, you're lovable. If not, I'll ignore you. A child begins to internalize shame. They learn, if I'm not perfect, I'll be left behind. And then come the subtle wounds. Being blamed for things you couldn't control, you're the reason I'm always stressed. We wouldn't struggle so much if it wasn't for you. Or being teased, mocked, belittled, not just by strangers, but by the people you trusted most. Being laughed at when you were vulnerable. Being criticized instead of comforted. Being told your feelings were too much. The child doesn't understand addiction, mental illness, or emotional immaturity in adults. They only feel unsafe. And what's worse, they believe it's their fault. Over time, the child learns to become invisible, to shrink, to apologize for existing. They might become perfectionists, caretakers, or silent observers, anything to earn love or avoid rejection. But none of this was your fault. Your inner child didn't need you to be perfect. They just needed you to be safe, to be seen, to be loved without conditions. Healing starts by telling them, you didn't deserve that. You were just a child, and I'm here for you now. Why we become who we had to be to survive. As children, we adapt. We don't sit and analyze our parents or environment. We simply absorb, react, and survive. When emotional safety is missing, the inner child creates coping strategies to protect themselves. These aren't conscious decisions, they're instincts. You may have become the peacemaker, trying to keep everyone happy so no one gets angry. Or maybe you became perfect, believing that if you do everything right, you'll finally be loved. Some children shrink, learning to be quiet, invisible, because attention meant danger. Others become little adults too soon, caretaking everyone around them while silently abandoning their own needs. These survival roles are not signs of weakness. They were creative solutions to impossible situations. You did what you had to do to feel some sense of safety, and that was incredibly brave. But over time, what once protected you begins to hurt you. People-pleasing leads to burnout, perfectionism leads to anxiety and shame, emotional numbness leads to loneliness. Being strong all the time leads to feeling unseen. As adults, we carry these patterns into relationships, often without realizing. We still fear rejection. We struggle to trust. We react from old wounds, not from our present wisdom. The truth is, you're not broken. You're patterned. And those patterns were formed by a child trying to stay safe in a world that didn't feel safe. Healing means noticing those patterns and asking, is this still protecting me, or is it keeping me from being myself? You get to choose now. You get to comfort the part of you that once had no comfort. You get to respond to yourself in ways your caregivers never could. And slowly the child within begins to believe, maybe I don't have to survive anymore. Maybe now I get to live. Reparenting, becoming the safe space you never had. Healing the inner child isn't about fixing what's broken. It's about offering the love, safety, and guidance you never received. It's about becoming the parent you needed but never had. This process is called reparenting. And it begins by building a relationship with yourself rooted in compassion, consistency, and emotional safety. The first step is creating inner safety. Your inner child needs to know they won't be ignored, dismissed, or punished for having feelings anymore. They need to hear, whatever you're feeling is valid. I'm here. I'm not going to leave you. Instead of silencing the fear or anxiety, you pause and say, I see you. I hear you. Let's sit with this together. From there, you build secure attachment with yourself, the kind of connection every child deserves. You show up consistently. You set boundaries that protect, not punish. You offer encouragement instead of criticism. And you listen, not to fix, but to understand. You begin to speak kindly to yourself, to soothe your nervous system when it gets overwhelmed, to stop abandoning yourself when things get hard. And when that old fear creeps in, the fear of being too much or not enough, you remind your inner child, you're not alone anymore. I've got you. Reparenting also means helping that child learn new ways to cope. Instead of freezing, you breathe. Instead of running, you stay. You teach them, it's okay to feel, it's safe to speak, we're not in danger now. This kind of healing doesn't happen overnight, but each time you choose love over fear, curiosity over shame, you rewrite the story. And maybe, for the first time, that child inside begins to trust. This time, someone stays. This time, I don't have to be afraid. Recognizing old patterns, choosing new responses. Many of the ways you react today aren't really you, they're patterns. Old, protective responses your inner child learned long ago to survive. Maybe you get defensive when someone disagrees with you. Maybe you shut down when emotions feel too big. Or maybe you feel a deep fear of being left, even when no one's going anywhere. These aren't flaws, they're echoes of a younger you, doing their best to feel safe in an unsafe world. But you're not there anymore. Today, you get to pause. You get to ask, is this the child reacting or the adult responding? Start by noticing your default behaviors. What do you do when you feel scared, rejected, overwhelmed? Then gently ask yourself, how did this response help me back then? And is it still helping me now? Now imagine a different way, a softer way to respond. Not with perfection, but with awareness. Breathe, pause, reframe, speak gently, and practice. The more you rehearse your new responses, the stronger those new pathways in your brain become. Until one day, it's not just a choice, it's your truth. You're not stuck, you're not broken, you're just relearning how to respond from love instead of fear. And your inner child, they're watching. They'll follow your lead. Are you reacting as the child or the adult? Pause and ask, where did this behavior come from? Who taught it to you? How did it once keep you safe? Now, how would you rather respond? Breathe. Imagine it. Practice it gently. Healing the inner child isn't about blaming the past, it's about breaking the cycle of pain and finally living as your true self.